Casting stations. It's time for Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Now let's have some fun. Here is your host, Johnny Radio.
Welcome into Happy Hour. No Johnny Radio today. I'm Bryant Dacus. Zach Boyd with me today. Johnny Radio had some personal matters to take care of today, so he'll be back with us tomorrow. But me and Zach with you today. We're going to have a lot of fun, a lot to get to. Zach, I really love days like today because, some days, just like with any job, there are days where, you really got to find something to talk about, and it could be anything, and those days could be a little difficult. They're always, I love my job. I love coming in here and talking about sports, and there's always stuff to talk about. But there are days like today where it just feels like there's so much news around sports to talk about. And so we're going to have a lot of fun today just chit-chatting about everything going on. Dustin Starr, he'll join us about 11:30. Big week in the wrestling world, WrestleMania this weekend for WWE. I know Dustin Starr is very excited about that. They're going to have a watch party over the weekend at Dave & Buster's. So we'll talk to Dustin about that. We'll talk about what he's got going on with Memphis Championship Wrestling. Also, I know he was out at AutoZone Park this weekend for opening weekend for the Redbirds. So a lot to get to with Dustin. We'll do that in our next segment. But Zach, pulling the long shift today. You've been up here. Feels like forever today. You doing all right? You hanging in there?
Every day feels like forever.
Well, some days are better than others, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm good, man. Everything's great.
Good.
Like, it's just, I wasn't expecting to see any breaking news earlier today. But
wow.
Hey, but here we are.
Wow. And the breaking news wild out of the NFL. I always say, and I'm sure everyone says this, but when it comes to off season, the NFL knows what they're doing. There's never a dull moment in the NFL, whether it's talking about free agency, talking about franchise tags, draft hype, and then you get trades intermingled in there, and then before you know it, you got schedule drop, you're getting ready for preseason, you've got the Hall of Fame game, and then the regular season is upon us. But today, like you mentioned, the big news, Stefon Diggs going to the Houston Texans. Massive news for a Texans team that last year was one of the biggest stories, I think, in the NFL. One of the more fun teams, I think, that people kind of latched onto and watched last year with C.J. Stroud, the rookie quarterback, DeMeco Ryans, the rookie head coach. They were a fun team last year, but then to go out after C.J. Stroud had a great year and get a receiver like Stefon Diggs like they did, I thought that was massive this morning.
Yeah, you just add on to what they already have. You got Nico Collins, who showed out this year as a number one. Tank Dell, rookie, was just he was just a fantasy gold for me, and I was just upset.
Oh, you had him on your fantasy team?
Oh,
wow. Huge pickup.
Brian, when I tell you my soul was hurt when he got hurt.
Was that a draft pick, or was that somebody you picked up off the waiver?
I picked him up off the waiver.
Smart man.
And I was like, Tank is giving me like 20 points a week. But you add him to that list. You add in, I guess they brought back Dalton Schultz for another year. Now you add in a veteran receiver, and not only a veteran receiver, but a dude that is still at the top of his game in Stefon Diggs, and you just think to yourself like, okay, like we were like get the running game going, brought in Joe Mixon, get the offensive line kind of shored up. Your defense was looking really good towards the back end of the season. And sure enough, you're looking at this Texans team like they were tanking last. They were a bad team, expected to be a bad team last year. Now you're like, could they go all the way with this type of talent, even though they don't have a lot of experience?
Yeah, well,
maybe
they might. I mean, that was the thing. You're spot on. Is like going into last season, we were all like, okay, this could be. I love. I think the NBA does it the best, where you have league pass, and so you call them league pass teams. They might not be very good. They might not be a team that is going to be even a playoff team. But like I know last year you had like. The Oklahoma City Thunder last year, they were a league pass team. You wanted to make sure you were watching their games because they were a fun team. Now they've made that jump this year. The Rockets were a league pass team last year. The Pistons feel like they've been a league pass team the prior couple of seasons. Just fun teams, and I feel like that's what the Texans were supposed to be last year. But then they come out here and C.J. Stroud becomes. Nobody expected C.J. Stroud to do what he did last year, especially, and I've talked about this with a lot of other people. I don't know if we've talked about it, Zach, but I hate the fact that I felt like throughout the draft process, C.J. Stroud was judged more for being a Ohio State quarterback than being C.J. Stroud. Like, I think a lot of people were like, ooh, can we trust him? You look at some of the other quarterbacks that came out of Ohio State, and they didn't pan out in the NFL. Can we trust C.J. Stroud to be a good NFL quarterback? And I didn't think that was very fair. And then he comes out of nowhere and has a great season. Now you pair him with a receiver that was clearly unhappy in Buffalo. And I'm really excited for what the season could be for the Texans.
Yeah, no, I expected C.J. Stroud to be good. Yeah. I didn't expect him to be good this quickly.
Right.
But I expect him to be good. Again, like he was in a shootout with with a stacked Georgia team that you pretty much can go from player to player and say NFL on both sides of the ball.
That's right.
Like so, and that was in a championship game, that was the semis game. Excuse me, be more specific on that. So when he's balling out against an NFL level defense, on a collegiate level, then I think he has a shot to be really good on the NFL level. It's just and we talk about this, and I'm kind of glad that we're officially in NFL draft season. We talk about I mentioned this multiple times in the past that if you're gonna draft a quarterback, you gotta get him in the right situation. You can't just say, oh, we need a quarterback, but your situation, the house that you built for him, isn't attainable right now. Like, you can't just say, man, we got to go get a franchise quarterback. Your offensive line is a wreck. Like, you don't have any playmakers around for him. Like, who's he going to throw to? And that's always the big conversation with quarterbacks is like, when you give them this money, can they elevate the talent? But my thing is, why don't you just give them the talent and just elevate the team entirely instead of just try to do? And I understand, like, less is more.
Sure.
Like the reason why the Texans aren't making this move is because C.J. Stroud is on a rookie contract. But even with that, like, even if he signed his second contract, go get the man the weapons.
Yeah.
Like, don't like shortcutting your quarterback to make the roster work is not gonna be good for the entire team. And so I'm happy that the Texans decided to go in on this move. I think it's a 2025 second round pick. So it's not this upcoming draft, but it's in next year's draft.
Well, it's a handful of picks. I think it was first reported as just a 2025 second round pick. I think we got more information on it.
Yeah.
I was reading The Athletic, so it looks like Texans get Stephon Diggs. In return, the Bills get a 2025 second round pick, a 2025 fifth round pick, and then a 2024 sixth round pick. So they'll get a sixth round pick this upcoming season. But I mean, I think for the Texans, that's a heck of a deal.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like I know that a lot of times there are players that pan out from the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. Like, that happens. But you're not drafting somebody with that pick that's going to be like a surefire, oh, we're going to have to rely on you this season. Those are guys that really need a lot of work. So I love this trade for the Texans and for the Bills. I mean, it's going to hurt not having Stephon Diggs up there, but like I said a second ago, like, I do not think he was happy in Buffalo. Like, I don't think that was working. And I think they needed a change. It seemed like honestly, it seemed like they plateaued as a team.
Yeah.
And there was going to have to be some change, and it felt like, as much as I love Stephon Diggs, that Diggs family, I mean, good Lord, look at the genes. But it just seemed like there needed to be a change. You're obviously not going to trade Josh Allen, so it felt like Stephon Diggs was going to be the choice. And so maybe it's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, and when he first got to Buffalo, it was like, okay, cool. Like Buffalo's profile took another step because you got a young quarterback in Josh Allen. Give him another weapon to throw to, especially an elite weapon like Stephon Diggs. But I mean, again, like, it comes down to playoff success. It's like if you're not winning in the playoffs, then it's like you will start to plateau.
Yeah. And
too many times where a lot of people were picking the Bills. Like, Bills gonna come out of the AFC this year because they got, like, Josh Allen's the big arm quarterback. Got Diggs, you got this weapon, you got that weapon. But then when it comes down to the nitty gritty of this team, it never was there.
Yeah.
They could never get over the hump.
Yeah. Like,
defensively they were there, but then once push come to shove, they can't get over the hump. And so, I mean, yeah, it was bound to happen. This past season, you kind of saw some of the frustrations with Diggs coming, like, with the season. And I was really hoping that the Cowboys can find a way.
You and me both, Zach.
And it's not purely just this Stephon is Trayvon's brother that you want on the Cowboys. It's just I want to acquire as much good talent as possible.
Yeah.
And too many times organizations always try to take the shortcut into, like, we could get more out of this player.
Sure.
I was like, no, I want the best player available. Not we can expect this player to step up for this season.
Yeah.
Because what happens if said player don't step up?
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're out of luck.
No, I'm with you on that. I was just looking. I kind of forgot. I absolutely forgot. The Texans traded their first round pick for this upcoming draft, so they don't have a pick in the first round. They traded it to looks like Arizona.
They don't need to.
They don't need to. But I was looking because I was like, man, you've got your quarterback, you've got a running back, you've got your receiver. I was just curious what kind of the mocks had them doing. If they had a first round draft pick, but they don't. They have looks like a pair of second round draft picks. So can do some damage in the second round, which would be good. But I really like this team going into next year. I think they're going to be probably like the trendy pick of, like, ooh, I'm going to go off the wall this year, and I'm going to pick the Texans to be in the Super Bowl, or I'm going to pick the Texans to be in the conference championship. Like, I already see that coming from a mile away, and I don't know if I think they're wrong, but it is going to be interesting. I want to get this in, and we can. If we don't have enough time for it, we can certainly come back to it. But the other big news from last night in the sports world was the, I guess, idea, you would have to say, of Bronny James entering the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Obviously, biggest name in sports because of his last name and who his father is. But I think a good player. Watching him
now, let's put
with
some
USC.
respect on Savannah now.
That's right.
Like
That's
Savannah,
absolutely right.
Savannah in her own right.
No, you were right about that.
Is up there with LeBron.
You were right about that. But Bronny, for his own right, I think a good player. Certainly, a lot of expectations on him. A lot of eyes on him because of that last name. But last night, you started seeing reports that Bronny James was in the transfer portal, was going to enter the transfer portal, and it kind of just took on a life of its own, and everyone kind of wondering where he could go. Obviously, Andy Enfield, his head coach at USC, was announced a couple days ago as the new SMU coach, and I think had his introductory press conference yesterday for SMU. So obviously no head coach currently right there. Definitely want to talk about that later. Eric Musselman is set to interview for that job today. But all of this started, it's very, very weird because we already know the transfer portal is so wild. But last night, Dick Weiss, who covers college basketball, tweeted out this tweet. Quote, USC freshman guard Bronny James is entering the transfer portal. Good for him. Needs to get away from the Hollywood hype. Best of luck to LeBron's kid. Well, obviously after that, everyone started tweeting it out. Oh, Bronny's in transfer portal. Bronny's transferring. Bronny this, Bronny that. And they were citing Dick Weiss as their, as the one who reported it. And so you see all these people, okay, maybe he'll go to Ohio State. Maybe he'll do this. Maybe he'll do that. And then you started seeing tweets and reports saying, all right, hold up. His name's not officially in the transfer portal. I haven't heard anybody else that can confirm he's entering the transfer portal. Let's maybe slow this down a little bit. Well, Dick Weiss ended up deleting that tweet and then tweeting, quote, can't confirm Bronny James' story, guys. Still think it's an idea whose time has come. Makes sense if it happens. I love the kid. Think he could be a star elsewhere. So I guess someone just told Dick Weiss, hey, Bronny James might enter the transfer portal, and he kind of ran with it and then had to backtrack it. But certainly a possibility with his head coach gone, and would certainly become certainly not the number one player in the transfer portal, but the most talked about transfer in the transfer portal.
Yeah. And gosh, like who doesn't want to have Bronny James just to have LeBron show up to his games, every now and then. Mm-hmm. It's going because I know he dropped a few teasers on his timeline.
Who, Bronny did?
Yeah, Bronny.
Oh, did he really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, so he dropped him in a West Virginia jersey.
No, I think that was a fake Bronny James.
Oh, that's a fake
account.
Bronny James?
I think so because my brother was sending that out. I don't know if that. Yeah, I don't think because I found a tweet and the bio is like your number one source for everything on Bronny James, not affiliated with Bronny. Hey, here's the thing. I understand Twitter's a wild place now. This guy has a check mark beside him. You can get your check marks now by just paying money. Yeah. Look, if you are either one, impersonating Bronny James on Twitter, or two, have a Bronny James fan account on Twitter, get a life. I mean, what are you doing with your time? I mean, there are so many people that you could impersonate and or have a fan account for other than Bronny James. I mean, that is tad overboard, I think.
Yeah, fandom is getting kind of weird.
It's different. But weird. Yes, I did see that because like I said,
I initially thought that was him. Like, okay, right? Because that's what prospects do these days. Like, they drop pictures of like different jerseys on them. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, like, well, Duke, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was Duke, Ohio State, West Virginia, and then there was one picture where it was like an actual picture of him at USC, but they were playing Cal, and so like in the background it's Cal's arena, and you can see like Cal everywhere. So. Interesting, but look, I think Bronny James is a good player and can be really productive somewhere else. I know you look at the stats, face value, 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists, shot only 36% from the field. But at the same time, you look at everything. First off, Bronny James was like a top 50 prospect. He was not rated super high. This isn't a top 25 kid we're talking about. So the expectations for him were already way through the roof just because he's LeBron James' son.
Right.
Then you add on top of that this guy had a heart attack on the court and had to be rushed to the hospital and couldn't play for the first 2 months of the year. I'm looking now. He was 28 on 247. So a top 30 kid, which is good, but certainly not top 10, top 25 guy. It's not funny, but it's interesting because I wanted to compare him during the season to previously rated guys around him. Look, this guy didn't produce. This guy, needed a couple seasons. The year before him, the guy that was rated number 28 in the country, according to 247 Sports, was the kid on USC's team that had a heart attack the year before Bronny James during practice. So this happened at USC back-to-back years, and both of them were the 28th rated player in the class of their class for 247.
Wait, so back-to-back kids had heart attacks?
Had heart issue. I don't know if you would consider both of them heart attacks, but both of them had to be rushed to the hospital and collapsed on the court during practice before the season started.
We
so
need to check.
Andy Enfield, we got our eyes on you.
Andy Enfield. We need to check USC facilities.
Yes. No, I kind of like an underrated story, and I don't want to put too much because I don't want to say by any means that any of the coaches or anybody is doing something to harm these players, but it is something to note that it has happened 2 years in a row. But I do think, give Bronny time, and 6'3", what was he listed at USC? He was listed 6'4", 210. So I mean, good size. I think he can be a very successful player. And I know that's almost controversial right now because everyone's oh, he's not good. He's he's a terrible player. Yada yada yada. So that was the big story last night in college basketball, that Bronny may or may not be entering the transfer portal. And if he does, Memphis was one of his teams that I think he had in his top 4 or so. When he was talking about teams that he might go to out of high school, Memphis was there, and that was kind of the big talk of could Bronny James come to Memphis?
Yeah.
So hey, maybe that'd be fun to keep an eye on if you're a Tiger fan and want to do that. But it's interesting. Then Eric Musselman, that whole story of him going to interview at USC, which is crazy. I mean, this whole year has been crazy for Arkansas. I mean, to go into the season as a top 15 team preseason, be so bad this year, have all sorts of locker room issues where these rumors come out that I'm pretty sure are all rumors. I've been told. I think everyone who knows about it knows exactly what I'm talking about. But you have that. You have players leaving the team, coming back to the team. Sounds very familiar to me. And then the whole season, you have these rumors that Eric Musselman wants out. He wants to go somewhere else. And then season comes to an end. It's seems like, hey, Muss is going to stick around, and now he's going and interviewing at USC. And so, we talk about dominoes falling for coaching searches. SMU making that out of nowhere change and firing Rob Lanier, who I thought did a really good job these past couple of seasons, but firing him could have been that first really big domino to kind of start this coaches leaving, going to different places, because USC is going to hire or going to hope to hire a big name. If they go Eric Musselman, Arkansas is going to want to do the same thing, hire a big name. So, I mean, we could see a big those dominoes start falling in college basketball.
Yeah, and then you add in the college landscape and the shifting that has happened the last couple of seasons, where a couple of years where you now got USC, UCLA, I think Oregon and Washington.
Yeah, all going to the Big Ten.
All going to the Big Ten. So now you got to compete against the Big Ten now. So you got to go and get your guy.
Yeah.
So, it's. And I like Musselman. I do think I like Musselman. It's just unfortunate how the season, especially this season, how it plays out. Because that Arkansas win for the Tigers early year was going to be so good.
Zach, we could have gone through.
It was going to be so good.
4 or 5 wins this season that you're like, oh man, this was such a good win. And then 2 months later, I was like, oh, they beat Arkansas.
Right.
They beat Michigan.
Oh gosh, that would have been a cherry on the top of that. But yeah, no, I think US again. You're on the West Coast. There's some hoopers out on the West Coast that you can recruit. Obviously, with the portal, you could go pretty much get anybody across the country.
Hey, so nothing against Fayetteville or the University of Arkansas or anything, but USC is I would think a very easy school to recruit at.
But if I'm Arkansas and if Musselman does decide to go out west, you need to call Sean Miller at Xavier and get him in.
Interesting.
Get him in that hog red.
I like that move. I've seen a lot of different speculations, and certainly if this does turn into, for real, and it sounds like as long as Eric Musselman doesn't go out to USC and just cuss everybody out at USC, it sounds like the job's his if he wants it. And so, I think in the next couple of days, certainly a couple of weeks, I think we're really going to be talking about who could replace Eric Musselman at Arkansas. And there are going to be a lot of big names because I do think, and you're going to see a lot of schools, they're going to start swinging for the fences when these jobs come open, especially a place like Arkansas. I think they're going to try to go out there and get somebody big, a big name, and it could be from another SEC school, and then you really got some drama there.
Well, what type of SEC school we're talking about?
I don't know. I've heard a lot of Arkansas fans want them to go after Chris Beard. So that's an interesting one. Obviously, his first year at Ole Miss, I thought did a nice job. Now we'll see if he, all indications are right now that he'll be back at Ole Miss next year, but next year's a big year for him, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to this topic. Some more college basketball things I want to get to. NBA, of course. Some baseball, Tigers. A lot to get to today, but we need to get to a break because on the other side, we're talking wrestling with Dustin Starr.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
A good friend of mine often says that golfers are the best athletes. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors. Now, I don't want to embarrass Ed by mentioning his name, but if you stop and think about it, he may be right. Just like the best real estate agent may not be who you think. Like a left tackle in football, a golfer hits it hard off the tee. Like a sprinter, the golfer walks down the fairway to reach his ball. Then like a quarterback who wants to connect with a distant target, the golfer hits the ball again, and in my case, again and again and again. So if you or someone you know is thinking of selling a home, draft your team by interviewing the players. Find out who will block that offensive lineman from knocking your deal down. And find out about the Shell Bucks option play. When interviewing, call or email me to find out why people often say, when you want the job done, call Shell Done. You can reach me at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. That's 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now and don't fumble that ball.
Yo, Mark, long time no see. You still down at Dyer's?
Man, I'm not down at Dyer's. I'm out at Collierville Historic Town Square.
When'd you move out there?
We've been out there for about 13 years. We've got the shops, the park, we got the train the kids like to play on.
You still cooking those burgers the old-fashioned way?
Man, we're still flattening out those hamburger balls on a slab of marble and skillet frying them the old-fashioned way like they've been doing for 100 years.
Dude, you still have those onion rings.
Man, they're fantastic. Hand-breaded, served up just right.
I loved those milkshakes. Please tell me you're still doing those.
Man, we are hand-dipping those shakes, putting them in the old glass in the shake tin, served the old-fashioned way.
You got any new items out there I need to know about?
We're just doing a lot of gourmet sandwiches. We've got farm-raised catfish straight out of the Delta. We've got some hot tamales from Pasquale's Tamales out of Helena, Arkansas.
Man, are they served in the husk?
What those guys like to say, they're so good, you'll suck the shuck.
Go see my buddy Mark at Dyer's Cafe in Collierville's historic town square.
The thrill and excitement of the tournament is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The code is HERD, H-E-R-D. That's only at DraftKings Sportsbook, and only with the code HERD, H-E-R-D. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/bball for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Hernando, Little Rock, and Cleveland, Mississippi specializes in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds. Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
Welcome back into Happy Hour. No John today, but he'll be back tomorrow. Just had some personal things he had to take care of today. Bryant Dacus, Zach Boyd with you today, and joining us now, Dustin Starr. A lot to talk about with Dustin today, obviously from Memphis Championship Wrestling, but a man of many hats, and it feels like you see him all over the place. Grizzlies games, Hustle games, Redbird games, a lot to get to with Dustin. Dustin, thanks so much for joining us, and I just missed you. I went out to the Redbirds game on Saturday. I believe that was the only game you didn't do this weekend. I was watching the other two and saw you out there. How was opening weekend for the Redbirds?
It was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I was going to say you picked the one day that I wasn't there. But there's the next homestand. I think there's 7 games in a row. I'm still waiting on my schedule for that, but I'm sure I'll be at most of those. But, man, it was beautiful weather. Mm-hmm. People showed up at the ballpark. The Easter Bunny was there on Sunday, so it was a lot of fun. I've never seen so many Easter eggs and stuff just scattered across the outfield. Big Easter egg hunt. And then, of course, happy WrestleMania week.
That's right.
Because this weekend is WrestleMania. There's just a whole bunch going on. Buff Bagwell's headed to Memphis very soon. I caught up with him today, and that interview will be released this week. But, yeah, man, you pick. Grizzlies this weekend. We've got back-to-back coming up. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, plenty to get to, and you mentioned WrestleMania. I want to get into that in a second, but I want to start off with what you are doing over at Memphis Championship Wrestling. We talked last week. Y'all had the big spring break theme for that show, but what do y'all have coming up? I know WrestleMania, y'all doing a watch party at Dave & Buster's talking about baseball season. Y'all going to be out with the Arkansas Travelers later this month.
Yep.
What do y'all have going on this month that people can get excited for?
Well, this weekend, Dave & Buster's. Head up to Dave & Buster's. You can watch night 1 and 2 of WrestleMania with us. It's absolutely free. Plus, we'll hook you up with a power card, and that's where you can play some games. On Saturday, night 1, Kay Toomer, the Memphis Heritage Champion, he will be there hosting the watch party. And then on Sunday, I'll be there hosting the watch party because we have back-to-back Grizz games on Friday and Saturday. So, Kay Toomer, he's going to step in. The big main, 387-pounder, he'll be there with the Memphis Heritage Championship and some power cards. But then we're actually gearing up for our next TV taping on Sunday, April the 21st. And this one is pretty cool because Buff Bagwell is coming. And Buff's, been a friend of ours for a long time. But, to have him coming on April 21st, right after his Dark Side of the Ring episode airs, I mean, this is going to sell out. I mean, we're still 2.5 weeks away, and we're probably more than 75-80% full at this point at the Wrestle Center. And the week of the event is always our biggest week, so I'd go ahead and reserve those seats. MemphisWrestling.tv. I've got an interview dropping with Buff Daddy coming up, and one of the questions I asked him is, will we ever see Buff Bagwell in the ring again? And so he goes into detail about some surgeries and all that kind of stuff. So it was a really fun interview, especially I was a fan of Buff, but then becoming friends with Buff and being able to work with him. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely some Buff Bagwell stories out there. Sure. But he's always been super cool with us. And so he'll be coming in on April the 21st. I would actually like to add somebody to that. So keep your eyes peeled because you never know who might be added to that card.
Well, you mentioned that interview with him. Do we have a date that's going to be released? Where can people find that when that comes out?
It'll drop Friday on Grind City Wrestling, so grindcitymedia.com, or check it out on YouTube because it's a video podcast. I believe we've had 265 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, man, there's a lot of really good stuff there. I recently interviewed Intercontinental Champion Gunther, Austin Theory, just before they came to SmackDown. So there's some really good stuff there. I think we've even talked to Buff a couple of times on there as well, and it's always something new.
That's
especially
awesome.
with Buff.
Yeah.
So, Dustin, I like to, over the last few weeks, I kind of noticed the the evolution of The Rock. Like,
how could you not?
Like The
Oh
Rock,
man,
like, you know, he first come in, he was the new wrestler in town, like, and then all of a sudden he got he gets the Rocky chance, and now he's the people's champ, and now we're in this stage with him that he's not only The Rock, obviously, but also he's the big boss. It's almost like he's like embracing the big villain role in a sense.
yeah.
And letting the new guys come in and try to knock him off his mantle. Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, me and Devin were talking about it. Devin Walker, he's a big-time Rock fan. He kept slapping his forearm the entire time we were talking about it. I don't know what that means, but no, I mean, he was making the argument that this is the best Rock that we've ever seen, and I feel like that the Rock can't mess up. You know, when you're working for a company or you have a leadership role in a company where you don't have to worry, you know, about saying something wrong or whatever. I compare it to like me at Memphis Wrestling. Like, that's mine. I can do it however I want to do it. When I'm on the court at the Grizzlies, I have to do it the way that they want me to do it. Or at the Redbirds, I have to do it the way they want me to do it. But like The Rock, he's on the board of TKO. He's one of the most famous people in the world at this point. When he goes out there and gets on a microphone, I mean, there's so much more confidence than ever. I mean, just imagine since the last time he was in WWE, all the different stages and audiences and movies and award shows, and what rooms has he been in with important people where he knocked it out of the park. I'm just saying his confidence at this point is through the roof, even more so than ever. And then also him just being older and being more mature, and also being super duper jacked really helps too, because you have that visual. He looks like a superhero at all times, you know. I just think he can't do any wrong. He's the final boss. And at WrestleMania, I think night one, we've been talking about this. I don't know, have you guys made some predictions, or have you been fantasy booking what's going to happen yet?
I'll be honest, Dustin. I have been so excited about the way they've been building this story of Cody versus The Rock, and what it was. We were talking last week when you joined us about how, you know, that Rock versus Cody they got outside. They were near the buses, and The Rock was slamming him into the bus. And then what was
Incredible.
this week on Raw, where they kind of set The Rock up, and you get the Cody chance, and here comes Cody out of nowhere, and they kind of ambush The Rock. Look, I am so excited to just see what happens. I mean, forget predictions, trying to predict. I'm just excited to see what happens.
Yeah, and Cody did a great job on all that, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Cody literally sold. He sold like crazy. He made the people feel sorry for him. He, you know, maybe even crying. I mean, he was just... And then The Rock continued to whip him after the cameras, you know, went off air, and they were able to use that footage where it just made The Rock look more authentic and real. So I love it, man. It's great. I just know that there has to be a roadblock in the way of the baby faces. So, I mean, I think it's obvious that the Bloodline's got to win night one, because then we have to have Bloodline rules on night two.
Right.
And you notice the trailer in the background of that fight scene had John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin on it. I don't think that was an accident either. So, man, I just think it's going to be really, really, really good, and they're taking their time with these stories and doing better than ever. But definitely wanted to mention Cody in that, because he took a beating. Look, the wrestling writer or booker in me was looking at the clock, because I was watching with my father-in-law, Dirty Bear. And I looked down, and I was like, 7 minutes? Man, they got 7 minutes to fill here? And, you know, we do this on Memphis Wrestling. Like, it's not a match that takes us off the air. It's some sort of fight or some sort of storyline that's launching or something. And so I'm looking, I'm like, 7 minutes? That's a long time for The Rock to just beat up Cody. They got to be doing something. And sure enough, man, The Rock filled all 7 minutes of that, beating the hell out of Cody, but then also the blood and the cussing kind of made me feel like that they're turning the page into another Attitude Era, or whatever the era is going to be called. But, you know, it's almost like UFC, TKO, like, let's make this more real. Let's make it more adult-like. And, you know, whereas before WWE might have been worried about that blood because of the Snickers and all the sponsorship money and stuff like that. But, you know, UFC's not doing too bad with sponsorship money either.
Right.
So maybe we're going to see, you know, a more edgier, well, I mean, we've already seen a more edgier WWE with The Rock coming back. So I think this is the beginning of another I don't know if it's a reality era or what it's going to be called, but hey, man, as long as The Rock's on our TV screens, I'm here for it.
Yo, just imagine the tag team match between The Rock and Roman Reigns versus John Cena and Stone Cold. That is as star powered as possible, man. That you could throw out there for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt them already building to next year's WrestleMania. You know, is that going to be Rock versus Roman? Are we finally going to get it? And I know that they like to do long storylines like that because those guys can get paid.
Yes.
So, for instance, like if The Rock has a year-long storyline, they already know what they're doing, but then also that's built-in appearances, which means built-in money for those talents that are involved in that. So I love stuff like that, you know. And then you could see when they put the pedal to the metal. And like right now, WWE has pedal to the metal headed to this weekend's WrestleMania.
Well, I know for especially casuals and people that might not, watch a ton of wrestling, but they, see the headlines, they see the clips and stuff on social media. Certainly Cody and The Rock, this whole storyline has been dominating kind of in anticipation for WrestleMania. But what are some of the other storylines? What are some of the other matches that you're really excited about this weekend?
Oh, Drew McIntyre has been hitting it out of the park every week on his promos. Him and CM Punk on Monday, where CM Punk was trying to get Drew to mention Vince McMahon by name, which you can't do, by the way. You can't mention Vince on TV anymore. But it was just such a really good promo. And if you haven't seen Ariel Helwani's interview with CM Punk, I would say go listen to every second of it.
Oh, yeah.
So good. But Drew McIntyre in a championship match against Seth Rollins. And, of course, Seth's involved in that night one tag team match, partnering up with Cody. So there's no telling what's going to happen there. But just having CM Punk there for that, I feel like the next step for them might be Drew defending the title against CM Punk. Because I do feel like maybe Drew can take the title off of Seth. But anyway, they got us guessing, which is good. I know they moved the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal to SmackDown, which I love Battle Royals. I love all of that stuff. Jey Uso, yeet. They got brother versus brother, so that should be really good. I mean, really, the card is absolutely loaded, but I think one of the things that's going to be more entertaining than anything is the surprises. Like I mentioned, John Cena and Stone Cold Steve Austin being on those trucks. I think that they're going to appear. There's rumors of Hulk Hogan. There's a lot of celebrities that are being announced for this, and then, of course, you've got the Hall of Fame with Paul Heyman going in. So there's no telling what type of ECW characters that we might see in the crowd, especially during that Hall of Fame. So, I mean, I think that this WrestleMania, probably more than any other, is going to be for that fan that's a casual fan. You might not order Peacock, but you can come out to Dave & Buster's and watch with us, that type of thing. Like, hey, I want to see what The Rock's doing. And then, Stone Cold makes an appearance, or John Cena. Lord knows if The Undertaker might make an appearance.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? So, like, this will be the casual fans that say, hey, I want to see The Rock. And then they see all these other guys from here. I think it'll be fun.
Well, I know we're running long here, Dustin, but I want to get this last question in because I've started seeing some of these headlines, some of this on social media. Jay Morgan, who used to work here, one of my buddies, he turned me on to AEW a couple years back while he was working here. And obviously MJF, one of their big superstars in AEW. He's been kind of radio silent lately, especially on social media. But I believe, today or yesterday, he broke his silence on social media after The Rock had his ex-girlfriend paint him this portrait of him beating up Cody Rhodes. MJF kind of fires back at The Rock. Is this something maybe we should keep our eye on? Maybe something brewing here between MJF and The Rock?
Yeah, MJF is smart. There was an opportunity for him to, fire out a tweet or rub shoulders, so to speak, with The Rock, even if it's just a small detail.
Yeah.
That's smart on his part. Now he's interacting. Whether he's on the other team or not, it's still, oh gosh, I bet Tony Khan would be upset. That's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. You got one of your top guys interacting with, arguably the biggest wrestling star in the world right now, but he's on the wrong team.
Yeah.
So you get the publicity from it, but it's like, oh man, come on. You'll see MJF in WWE at some point. I don't know if I believe all the hype about the contracts and all that stuff. Like these guys, they're locked down. Like the Drew McIntyre contract rumors or Becky Lynch contract rumors. Come on. You really think that the WWE doesn't have their finger on the pulse of that?
Yeah.
So I think MJF will eventually be in WWE. I think it's really cool that, a couple months ago he was chumming it up with John Cena, and now he's got some tweets going back and forth, I guess, with The Rock. Hey, good move on his part.
Yeah, I'm definitely here for it. Last thing, Dustin, before we let you go, remind people about this weekend, y'all's WrestleMania watch party, and what they can expect coming up from you in Championship Wrestling.
Memphis Wrestling is on fire. We got Brooklyn Brawler coming. We've got Buff Daddy coming. I've been talking to Zilla Fatu, speaking of the Bloodline. We're going to have him coming in. There's a whole lot going on in Memphis Wrestling. You can get the lineup at memphiswrestling.tv. We're going to be back at Lafayette's coming up for Bump and Grind Wrestling. That was pretty wild. You mentioned out at the Arkansas Travelers baseball game, but then in June we're going to be back at AutoZone Park for the Redbirds. Big wrestling night for that. So there's just a lot going on. You can get all the info at memphiswrestling.tv. But Dave & Buster's is super easy. You walk in, you hang a left, you'll see the huge TV screens, the sound is on and everything, and you'll see a bunch of crazy wrestling fans over there. Just come holler at me, holler at Kay Toomer. We'll hook you up with a power card. We'll all watch WrestleMania Night 1 and Night 2 together. That simple.
I love it, Dustin. Sounds like a lot of fun. Thanks so much again for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Awesome. Thank you. And shout out to Johnny Radio. Oh, yeah.
That's right. Thanks, Dustin. Dustin Starr, he joins us every single week to talk wrestling. And like I said, I mean, you can see him pretty much anywhere. If you're a sports fan in Memphis, there's a good chance you're going to run into Dustin Starr, whether it be wrestling or the Grizzlies or the Redbirds. I mean, literally everywhere. Yeah. Hustle, he's down at the Hustle games. So he does a little bit of everything. But
funny thing, I was just, indirectly.
Yeah.
I just saw the Wrestling Center.
Oh, man.
And I was like, so this is the Wrestling Center.
It's here. How about
right
that?
Here.
Yeah, here
I was
it is.
getting ready to stretch, and but there's no ring out for
right.
me. So I was like,
we sneak in and get a little match. I'll be honest. I am not by any means I would call myself like a wrestling fan or anything. Like I'm not super like locked in. Like again, like I said to Dustin, like I'll see the updates. I'll see the like tweets and stuff about it. Jay Morgan, who I'm still really good friends with, that used to work here, he's a big wrestling guy. And so he keeps me kind of tuned in, lets me know what's going on. But I am really excited to see what happens with Cody Rhodes and The Rock. Like I have become invested in this.
It's gonna be interesting. I'll keep my eye on it. I'm not the biggest wrestling person, but I keep my I look on Twitter and kind of keep.
I'm in. I'm in on it. I think I'm gonna be watching this weekend for WrestleMania. I'm really excited. But we need to get to a break. A lot more to talk about. But let's go ahead, grab a break, and on the other side, who knows what we'll talk about? We'll talk about something. We'll do that next on Happy Hour with Johnny Radio.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Is your home screaming for an upgrade? Listen closely because Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing is about to make your day. First up, say goodbye to cold showers and hello to endless hot water with our tankless water heater upgrade. Not only does it save space and energy, but it also keeps the hot water flowing exactly when you need it. And here's the kicker. Switch from your old tank to a sleek, efficient tankless water heater now, and Choate's will hand you a $500 credit. Yep, you heard that right. $500 back in your pocket. But wait, there's more. Clogged drains are a hassle no homeowner wants to deal with. With Choate's special offer, get your drains cleared for just $93 or it's absolutely free. That's our guarantee to make it drain or you don't pay a dime. So why wait? Call Choate's today at 347-8086 or visit us online at choateshvac.com. And remember, Choate's, let our family serve your family.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out?
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. We've helped over 30,000 families out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answers. At Wesley Financial Group, we're dedicated to helping timeshare owners get out of their financial nightmare. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call now for your free timeshare exit information kit. Call 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000. 800-761-0000.
You've heard of James Gaddis Jewelers, but have you heard what they've done lately? Everything. A tremendous selection of diamonds and jewels, gold, silver, and much more. Lots of watches, tons of custom-made jewelry, fine gemstones, bracelets, necklaces, so many choices. Romantics will love the one-of-a-kind estate and vintage jewelry. James Gaddis has experts to help you with wedding and engagement rings, plus 2 repair experts for fine watches and jewelry. Layaway and financing available. James Gaddis Jewelers at 4900 Poplar.
This is hard to believe, but the Hyundai Santa Fe is actually better? I know, that's crazy, isn't it? The 2024 Santa Fe is new, top to bottom, and even better than before. It's almost as big as the Palisade, so roomy, and now it's got a standard third row. Everybody's clamoring for that. And it's the best SUV when it comes to the ride than ever before. You know how with SUVs you love it because you're sitting high, but you don't get that luxury kind of ride like a sedan? You do with the 2024 Santa Fe. It's the best riding SUV ever, and it's quiet. It's the ultimate family car. All you've got to do to be sold is to test drive it. The people at Homer Skelton Hyundai are saying, come try it. You'll love it. Homer Skelton Hyundai, right at the corner of Highway 78 and Craft Road. First exit in Mississippi. Go see the ultimate SUV, the 2024 Santa Fe.
The only power source capable of generating 1.21 gigawatts of electricity is a bolt of lightning.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
Well, only a couple more minutes in this hour before we need to get to another break to start hour number 2. Bryant Dacus, Zach Boyd in for Johnny Radio. He'll be back tomorrow, so don't worry. You only got to put up with us for a day. But Zach, since we don't have a lot of time here, I want to talk a little baseball here. We got a handful of games starting at noon. But last night, nothing crazy really in the baseball world. It was really a couple nights ago where we had a lot of interesting stuff. But I don't know if you've seen what is happening in Oakland with the Athletics. Obviously, we know kind of the big story of, seems like they're moving to Vegas, but it's not going to be till, a couple of years, and we don't know really where they're going to play following this, where after this season pretty much. And so it's an interesting story. But on the field, some people are curious as to what's happening because the Athletics had to make a move. I believe somebody came off the injured list or something. They had to send somebody down. And they end up sending down Estrui Ruiz, one of their outfielders, young outfielder, only 23 years old, who started the season only 7 at-bats, so a very small sample size, but was batting .429 to start the season. He gets sent down. Brent Rooker, a Memphis native who was their only All-Star last year. Obviously, in Major League Baseball, every team has to have an All-Star, but he was the guy as their All-Star last year. They bench him, and some people are saying that there is a common denominator to these decisions that Oakland is making, and that common denominator is both Brent Rooker and Estrui Ruiz were both wearing bracelets, those rubber bracelets, for like a restaurant that is like a big part of the like A's protest, like where they're against the owner of the A's. It's like a big part of that. And so people are thinking that that's why these guys were demoted, because they were promoting a restaurant that is very much against the Oakland A's management and leadership. And so it's an interesting story to start the season. But I don't know if I think that was the real reason they did that. But I don't know how much I agree with them sending down a guy that's batting over 400 to start the season. Here it is. Fan group Last Dive Bar, one of the organizers of the A's fan protests against ownership that has taken place over the past year, offered a theory on social media as to why these seemingly inexplicable moves were made. The players offered support to its group. Both Ruiz and Rooker have worn merchandise of Last Dive Bar, with Ruiz wearing a gold wristband with the group's name on it during multiple games last year. They also have a picture of Brent Rooker wearing the same wristband or a similar wristband. And so they think that it's because they're supporting this A's protest group is why they were demoted.
What if that's their favorite restaurant?
See, now I'm starting to think, I don't know if it's a restaurant, because it doesn't say restaurant, it just says organizers. So I'm not sure what Last Dive Bar is. It sounds like a
That's what I'm saying. Like, if it's
bar
a dive bar, then to me it's a restaurant. Like, what if that's their favorite hangout spot?
Oh, interesting. It's an apparel company. It's literally just a protest group.
Oh,
I'm on their website, and it's literally just like clothing and accessories for because they're saying Oakland Coliseum is baseball's last dive bar. Interesting. And so it's just like a bunch of shirts against the move to Las Vegas and against this ownership group. So maybe they have legs. I don't know.
Maybe. But I mean,
interesting.
Listen, they've been a poverty franchise for a long time.
Yeah. Oh man,
for a long time. And I just, it's always my parents have always taught us. That's something my parents have always. They always taught us, like, if you wanna move, or you wanna get a new car, or you wanna get something that you want, you have to plan and put in the work ahead of time.
Sure.
So that you can eventually get it. And, they didn't put the work in. They just like, hey, let's just go to Vegas.
It's like, you know what? We don't like it here. Nobody shows up. How about we move? And then everyone was like, that's a great idea. And then like a week later, everyone was like, wait a minute, where are you going to play? What are you going to do?
Right.
How are you going to get there? What's going to happen? And so I saw they met with Oakland leadership yesterday to try to get a deal done for them to stay at Oakland Coliseum until their stadium is ready in Las Vegas. That meeting did not go well.
I bet.
And so now they're going to meet. I guess they've been meeting, but they have another meeting set up with Sacramento to maybe play in one of the stadiums in Sacramento. So this is not good. The A's are bad again. Surprise, surprise. And they're playing the Red Sox right now. Lost in extra innings yesterday, a wild game. I wish we had more time to talk about that game because that game was crazy. So yeah, I don't know. It's certainly a fun storyline to start the baseball season of like maybe the fact that the A's are so upset that players are supporting their fans, basically saying thank you to the few fans that show up to their game by wearing these like anti-move bracelets.
Yeah.
That they're like, hey, you're not going to play for us anymore, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So something to keep an eye on. But we are late for a break. We need to get to a break, and when we come back, to start the top of the hour, I want to get into some NBA news. It was a busy night in the NBA last night. Grizzlies back in action tonight up in Milwaukee. So we'll talk some NBA next. You're listening to Johnny Radio's Happy Hour on Sports 56.
If your head explodes with our forebodings too, I'll see you on the dark side of the moon.
At Sunrise, both on Jefferson and Poplar, we understand that a lot of the early morning crowd is not early morning at all. We're talking about the heroes that work the overnight shift. These are people that keep the world turning while we sleep. That's why both Sunrise locations have a full bar. If you have a long day ahead of you, you probably want coffee. But if you've been working all night, you might just want a drink. Not only do both Sunrise locations have every cocktail you could want, they also both feature a Bloody Mary bar with a huge selection of fixins. If you just got off work at Sunrise, come have a drink at Sunrise.
Here's some hard truth about engagement rings. There are 10 premier designers every woman knows about. They're like the Mercedes or Louis Vuitton of engagement rings. World-class, iconic, quality names. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and these designers are hard to get. And every jewelry store wants them, but very few make the cut. So they have to settle for lesser brands or knockoffs. Around here, there's only one jewelry store that offers these premium rings. It's Genesis Diamonds. Genesis is the only one that made the cut, that meets the highest standards. Genesis is the only store that's allowed to offer these exceptional brands that women really want. Other stores are jealous of this and will try and convince you these are more expensive and try to get you to settle for something else. But the truth is, Genesis has top quality designer rings for under $2,000. It's not about price, it's about craftsmanship and quality and detail and individuality. So don't compromise. Get her a world-class ring she will be proud to wear. Genesis Diamonds on Poplar at Perkins Extended.
We see them every day. People driving using their phones. There's a sneak-a-peeker or the fast scroller who can quickly become the fender bender. The got-a-ticketer or the driver who killed someone. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet piquilla peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finish with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes, or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
You watch sports. You listen to sports. Now let's talk sports. Are you a huge sports fan with always something to say but only a few listeners? Well, not anymore, because Sports 56 is opening the airwaves overnight. From 12 midnight till 6 a.m. for people like you to talk sports during your own 1-hour radio talk show on Sports After Dark. That means for 1 hour, you can tell us what's really on your mind regarding sports. Your favorite sports team, your favorite player, discuss pre-games, post-games, all games. Let's talk. Orientation is required. Interested applicants must contact the podcast center at gmail.com or call 901-468-3097. That's the podcast center at gmail.com or 901-468-3097. Amateur and professional talk show hosts encouraged to apply.
Required orientation is Saturday, April 13th, or you can take it online.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Now back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
Welcome back into Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. No Johnny Radio today. Bryant Dacus, Zach Boyd in for him. And I mentioned I want to talk NBA here. A good night of NBA basketball last night. Grizzlies are back in action tonight, so I want to get to both of those things. Specifically, Joel Embiid's return last night for the 76ers. But I just saw this, and it's just breaking. The story just dropped over on CBS Sports about 30 minutes ago. But LeVar Ball is coming back out of nowhere. Obviously, the father of Lonzo, LaMelo, and LiAngelo Ball, who was, seemingly on ESPN and making news every day when Lonzo was first getting in the league and when his other two sons were, trying to get into the league. But LeVar Ball has come out again. When was the last time we heard from LeVar Ball? I feel like we haven't heard from him in a couple years now.
It's been some years.
I was shocked when I saw this.
Yeah, because I think once LaMelo kind of got in, then that's kind of when you saw him kind of backed out.
Yeah,
he's like, all right, I got two of my sons in
right
now. So.
Well, and then all that stuff happened with because they were like they had that Big Baller brand, and they were like making merchandise and shoes and stuff like that, and then that went sideways. And they were like, their business partner was like trying to sue them or something like that, and so shut that down and pretty much shut down completely. You felt like you didn't hear from him after that. But now he is back, and he is calling out the NBA conditioning and Puma for their shoes, which LaMelo has a brand deal with Puma and has signature shoes with Puma. So kind of a risky business to be calling out Puma like that. Here are some of the quotes from CBS Sports. The Hornets shut down LaMelo Ball for the remainder of the season. For those that don't know, he has an ankle injury. He's both him and Lonzo. We know Lonzo has been out of the NBA for a couple of years with his injury. It doesn't seem like anybody really knows what is wrong with him. There were the reports that he couldn't run, he couldn't jump. Now it sounds like there are more optimistic reports that maybe he could get back out there next year. But LaMelo's had his own injuries, not as severe as that, but he is out the rest of this season with an ankle injury, and he's had other lingering issues. But here are some of the quotes from LeVar Ball that were in the story. Quote, well, mentally, they have a strong mindset. They're balls. So they're going to come back. They're going to rehab. They're going to do their thing. He goes on to say, I'm always right. I hate to be right all the time, but it is what it is. Now that's LeVar right there. That first one, maybe not LeVar, but that second one was definitely
it is
LeVar.
What it is.
Here's one. As long as my boys are taking care of themselves and doing what they're supposed to do and get to do something that they love to do as long as they can, it's a beautiful thing. A lot of people don't get this opportunity, and I look back at it with a different perspective, which is even conditioning and even coming back, at least you can get to do something that you love to do. So those are all good. Those are all nice. But then goes on to call out the NBA for how they are conditioning players and how people say that he worked them too hard and that he, if it was him, if they were still with him, they would not have all of these injuries, which, a little interesting. I don't love that comment from him, but again, this is LeVar Ball for you.
Yeah, if I don't recall, Lonzo's injury started when he started wearing those.
It was those shoes, absolutely. Great point by you.
I'm not saying that he's wrong. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it's no, it could be a number of things, but I highly doubt is how the NBA is prepping their players.
Right.
You're talking about the best staffs across the country, across the globe, working for one organization. I highly doubt they're slacking off and letting these players just do whatever they want to do.
Right.
With that,
no chance.
They give them a plan. That's the one thing. They give these players a plan. It's up to the players if they want to follow it or not because they're grown men.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Right. I mean, this isn't like college where they're going to hold your hand, or even with your father where he's going to force you to do that.
Yes.
This is much different, and we've heard so many stories where guys are out of the league because they didn't go to rehab and they didn't, go in and meet with the trainers and, that consistently. And so, it's a real thing. And so I don't really blame the NBA. These guys are in this position because they're good at their job. There's only, 30 trainers in the league, 32 trainers in the league, and
training staff at least.
Certainly training staff. And so, I mean, I think that's crazy. But again, I'm glad to see LeVar coming out and talking like this because this is the LeVar that I miss. Here's where he calls out the shoes. They've been trained hard enough. No, because you condition your body for running and jumping. You've got to condition your legs. So that's why I always have my boys in the hills and running hard in them hills. That will make you run like a deer when you get on that court so you won't be getting hurt. A lot of things have to do with them raggedy shoes that Melo wears. Them shoes are not made the right way for him. That's why he keeps tweaking his ankle every single time. That's great. I'm sure Puma loves waking up this morning or getting back from their lunch breaks and saying, hey, you didn't happen to see what LeVar said about our shoes, right? Calling them raggedy and the reason that LaMelo gets hurt so much.
I think the reason why I think he feels some type of way because his shoes were a little raggedy.
I think so.
Just a little bit.
Well, yeah, a lot of it. A lot of it, I'm afraid. Last night, the 76ers beat the Thunder 109-105 in a game that before the game, it was announced that Jalen Williams, J-Dub for the hip cool kids, and SGA would both be out for the Thunder. Joel Embiid would be back, his first game back, and this was a game that early on it looked like the Thunder were going to run away with it. I think they held, the second quarter maybe, they held the 76ers to only 19 points. But then a massive fourth quarter for the 76ers. They're able to come back and win this game last night. A good game for Embiid, finished with 24 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals. I think he did have 6 turnovers. Very turnover happy in that one. But it is good to see Joel Embiid back on the court for them because the 76ers need him. I mean, you go back and look at the 76ers team when he was healthy, they were third, fourth in the East. I mean, way up there. Now they're in the playoff situation. I think they're sitting in 8th right now in playing maybe 9th. So I think getting Joel Embiid back is big time for the 76ers team.
It makes them even more dangerous because when Embiid when they dropped the news of his injury, you thought he was going to be out for this year, out for the year.
I was shocked. I mean, because he gets injured and then a couple days later Woj tweets out and was like,
this might be the last time
he tweets that, but then he tweets out something like, I'm hearing 76er personnel think there is a chance that he could return late March, early April, and everyone was basically like, no chance. That's just wishful thinking. And sure enough, here he is right before a playoff push.
So I'm happy that he's able to be back on the floor. Like I said, it makes the 76ers a little bit more dangerous because now you're looking at the teams at the top. Looking at them, I think the Celtics are still the cream.
Oh yeah,
the cream of the Eastern Conference. But you're looking at a team like Milwaukee. Hey, Milwaukee's been having issues lately. The Cavs, so far they've been trending upward.
Yep.
But can they handle an Embiid and the size that he brings? Orlando's another young team. By the way, shout out to the Magic, man.
Oh man,
I didn't realize they're 4th in the East.
Yeah,
shout out to them.
It's a good team.
They've
certainly don't get enough attention.
They've been poverty for the last several years too. Yeah. But shout out to them, man. I like this. It's amazing to be in the East, man. But you got a handful of teams, especially down at the bottom end. Miami, Sixers, like I mentioned. The Knicks can make some noise if everyone is healthy. I think the East is low key gonna be there's gonna be some fun games.
Yeah. No, I'm excited.
Fun games
about
coming out of the East.
The East in the playoffs. Now, here's my question: how much? Obviously, Joel Embiid affects this team. I mean, it's positive to get him back on the court. He makes this team much better when he's on the court. But what kind of a run do you think the 76ers team can go on with him? I mean, are we sitting here in a month and a half talking about the 76ers on a similar run like we saw last year with the Lakers and with the Heat?
Yeah, they can make a deep run, because the one thing that I did, notice at the beginning of the year with the Sixers is that Embiid and Maxey were starting to form that pick and roll gel that they were trying to force with Harden.
Yep.
And so especially with Maxey being able to shoot the ball really well from the outside, he can pass it very well coming off the screen. I mean, like you kind of saw that kind of gel, and you kind of saw everybody else kind of spread out, getting into their different roles or whatever. You got, whether it's Tobias Harris kind of cutting down the baseline, you got Melton shooting threes, you got different guys, other guys shooting threes. So you can, in theory, can say that the Sixers could make a big run. And then you add in the fact that Embiid can go large, and he is known to go large at different times when he was healthy.
Right.
You can say, in theory, that the 76ers could be the dark horse coming out of the East.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, there's still, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games left for the 76ers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so right now, the 76ers are in the 8th spot.
Yeah.
But they're only a game and a half back of the Heat. Now, the Heat have 7 games left, where Philadelphia only has 6 because the Heat didn't play last night. Pacers are in that 6th spot. They're only 2 games ahead of the 76ers. So, I mean, it would take a lot. That's hard to do in only 6 games to make up, two games. But, I mean, we are talking about a opportunity. And when you look at the 76ers schedule, they play this Heat team. Their next game's against the Heat, so if they beat the Heat, that's a great start to jump them.
Yeah.
Then you've got the Grizzlies, which, we love the Grizzlies, but, that's a very winnable game for the 76ers. San Antonio, a game you should win. Detroit, you should win. Orlando will be tough, but that's right at the end of the season. If Orlando has solidified their spot, maybe they're resting guys, who knows? And then Brooklyn, which is a very winnable game. I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say the 76ers could finish 5-1 over these last 6, and then you're definitely talking about them not even in this play-in.
You're right. And then I'm looking at the Pacers, the last several games for them. You're at Brooklyn, so I guess that's kind of a winnable
game. Sure.
You're at home versus OKC. Another tough game because the Thunder is still trying to go after the 1 spot. Right. You're still at home against Miami,
but Miami's trying to
get
position themselves.
So that's another tough game. Toronto's losing.
Yeah.
The Cavs, you can safely say that they're losing. The Cavs, they're at the top, but they're still jockeying for 2 and 3.
Absolutely, and even maybe 4. I mean, once we get there, Orlando could be very much in play, or even the Knicks. Both those teams, 2 or a game and a half back from Cleveland, so that very well could be still jockeying for the Cavs.
And then you end the season with a feisty Atlanta Hawks team,
and a team that's trying to stay in the play-in.
Right.
And I'm sure at that point we'll be in the play-in because the Nets are 30 and a half games back from first. Atlanta's 24 games back, so there's a wide margin there.
Right.
But Hawks right now only a half game back of the Bulls, so I mean certainly
they're fighting.
Could try to move in, get that 9 spot.
Right. So
that matters much in
not to say that the Pacers can come out and play their best basketball, but in reality, they got about like 3 to 4 games where they gotta bring their A game.
Yeah. When that's honestly, and I think most people are all in on the play-in games now. Like, I know at first when they were thrown out there, like, hey, we're going to have these play-in games where we have a couple games that decide who the 7 and 8 are going to be. Everyone was kind of like, I don't know about that. I don't really like that idea. But it makes it way more entertaining. I mean, when you were talking about, you're telling me that the team that has earned the 7th spot could go out there and have 2 bad games and be completely out. Like, that's crazy. That's awesome. Like, so it makes it entertaining, and it makes it even more interesting when it comes to, and I think the teams that are in those positions have made it interesting, because you look at the East and you see, you've got the Hawks, who have Trae Young, who's such a fun player to watch. The Bulls, who, nobody can really tell what they're doing this year, because it feels like earlier in the season they were in sell mode, and now they said, right day of the deadline, it felt like they were like, no, we're going to keep everybody and try to see what we can do. 76ers getting Joel Embiid back, the Heat after what they did last year and the star power they have. And then you go over to the West and you talk about the play-in teams there, where you've got the Golden State Warriors and that dynasty that it has been for the last however many years, the Lakers with LeBron James and AD, the Suns with their big 3, and the Sacramento Kings, a fun kind of younger team. These play-in, both sides of the play-in, are going to be super interesting. And just the fact that you've got, we already talked about those teams in the East that are, could get out of the play-in.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing in the West. Kings only a game back of the 6th spot. Same thing with the Suns. Both them a game back of that 6. And then you look at 6 and 5. Both of them are 7.5 games back from first. So they're right there fighting each other for 5 and 6, and even right behind the Clippers at 4. And then you look up at the 1 spot. You've got 3 teams all either in the lead or a half game back of first place. So, I mean, it feels like a lot of years you have most of it cemented, and you're just like, okay, this team here, this team there. And certainly with 6-7 games in a week, we could be talking about, a lot of this is cemented. But I think this is going to be really fun to watch how this works itself out down the stretch of the season.
Gosh, just imagine if the Sacramento Kings, hypothetically, if the play-in is what it is right now in the West, just think about it. If the Sacramento Kings beat the Phoenix Suns,
man,
you're possibly talking about a Suns team with Booker, Durant, and Beal.
Yep.
Going up against the winner of the Warriors and the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It smells primetime TV
absolutely.
written all over it.
And the fact that I mean, who knows what happens, but right now, if the season ended today, you would have a win or go home game between the Lakers and the Warriors. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, it's incredible for that night, and then after that, when one of those teams has to go home, it's not as great, but no, I'm excited. I mean, this, even though the Grizzlies are firmly out of the mix, I'm still super intrigued and locked in on how the NBA plays itself into the playoffs and what happens in the playoffs, because I think there's so many good storylines. We kind of gotten to the point where it's not just, and I mean very clearly when you look at the standings, it's not just LeBron James and Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Like, there are so many teams that have these dominant presence on their team and these dominant players that it's become a lot more wide open and really fun. I'm excited for it.
Man, like the Lakers, they have been in a play-in situation all except for 1 year.
It's crazy.
2 years, actually. Well, I mean, it was brought up again. Well, it started in the bubble, obviously, but I really don't count that.
Sure.
But since then, the Lakers have been in a play-in situation all but 1 year.
Crazy. Crazy. I mean, but hey, whatever.
So they're built for this.
They are, and they've shown that they can win it and get into the playoffs, and then go very, very far into the playoffs. So it'll be fun to watch. Didn't get to any Grizzlies talk here. We'll probably talk about that a little bit on the other side. Honestly.
Maybe some in the NBA draft.
Oh, yeah, got to talk draft. Well, certainly, if you're honestly, Zach, at this point, if you're talking Grizzlies, you're pretty much talking draft, because that's really what everyone's kind of looking forward to. So let's go ahead, get to a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more NBA, we'll talk Grizzlies, we'll talk NBA draft. We had the McDonald's All-American game last night. I know a lot of people were paying attention to that with those high school seniors getting ready to go to college, some of those top prospects for the draft a couple years from now. So we'll talk a lot more basketball on the other side. You're listening to Johnny Radio's Happy Hour on Sports 56.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You've been having a good time at Mugshots Grill and Bar in Olive Branch. Soon you'll be having a good time at a brand new Mugshots. Mugshots Grill and Bar is opening their first Tennessee location at 656 West Poplar in Collierville, where you can try one of Mugshots' 19 specialty burgers, including the Mugshot Burger. Finish it in 12 minutes and it's free, plus you get a free t-shirt. So cheers to great food, good drinks, and fun company at Mugshots Grill and Bar, where you're always having a good time.
Make your next grill your last with a Big Green Egg. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Save money on fuel, eating out, and replacing expensive grills that cannot match the flavor of the Big Green Egg. Ready to cook in only 10 to 15 minutes with temperatures below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between with ease. Change your at-home cooking experience for life. Go to shop.biggreenegg.com.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency on earth, and if you owe back taxes, the news isn't good. The IRS is raising the interest rate it charges on unpaid taxes, and further rate hikes are expected. Most people don't know it, but the IRS adds interest charges to your tax debts daily. So if you owe the IRS today, you'll owe even more tomorrow. And it doesn't stop until you get right with the IRS. The good news is getting right can start with one phone call to Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax relief firm. Optima's tax professionals specialize in the Fresh Start Initiative, a powerful IRS program that can save you thousands if you qualify. In fact, the experts at Optima have resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-357-6499. 800-357-6499. 800-357-6499.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You can't say that.
But it's true.
You just made that up.
No, I didn't. You can get to any Central Barbecue location from anywhere in Memphis in 10 minutes, depending on traffic.
You made that up.
Try me.
Bartlett.
The Summer Avenue Central Barbecue.
Germantown.
Not Memphis, but the Poplar location.
South Memphis.
Downtown.
Olive Branch.
Again, not Memphis, but the South Haven Central Barbecue.
I still don't think you say you can get to there any of them in 10 minutes.
Well, that's why it's depending on traffic.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Replace your worn-out brakes and save now on Brake Best Select. Brake Best Select Pro are import direct brake pads and rotors only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
All the wisdom of the universe is in these bones.
Now back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
Welcome back in. No Johnny Radio today. Bryant and Zach with you. I thought about trying to imitate John coming back, but I didn't. I kicked that idea before, like literally right before I turned my mic on it.
Anybody can imitate Johnny now.
Yo. I mean, it's just kind of it. But I couldn't get a good grasp on what I wanted to do before I turned my mic on, so I decided to punt it.
It wouldn't be right if you don't end the show with. We're going to end the show off with 2 shakes of a lamb's tail.
That's right. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. So I want to talk Grizzlies. I want to talk draft for a second, but I went out into the hall. We had a TV out there, and I think the TV's on the same channel over there in your room, Zach. But Pat McAfee show's on, and they have Dan Hurley on Pat McAfee show, and I've always had like a weird, like when I think about like what do I think of Dan Hurley? Like, do I like Dan Hurley? Do I think do I not like Dan Hurley? My first interaction with Dan Hurley, my first encounter with Dan Hurley, I guess I should say, was and Zach, I don't know if you were there or if this was the year after you, but for those that don't know, Zach and I go way back at the University of Memphis with their radio station WUMR. And we did Tiger basketball games. And I remember being at one of the Tiger basketball games, doing it on the student radio station. And it was back when UConn was in the same conference as Memphis, when they were in the AAC for that couple of years.
Yeah.
And Dan Hurley is on the sideline. And when I tell you, I mean, you could hear it through the microphone. Dan Hurley is using every profanity under the sun. I mean, is just ripping his teams, turning around and ripping fans. I mean, cussing at fans. I mean, hilarious, but I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And so, then you see the stuff with him, like going after fans. Like who'd they lose to earlier this year? Maybe like Creighton. And at Creighton, he was coming off the court, and he's like, I'll kill you or something like that to a fan. I was like, whoa, Dan, like, calm down. But then I think, later we heard, like, it was more than that. He was like, if you reach your arm down and, like, try to touch me, I'll kill you or something like that. Mm-hmm. So a little bit better. But I think I think he's a great coach. Like, I don't think you can argue that he's a great coach. But I think, like, in terms of, like, do you like him is a question.
Like, as a person?
Sure. Like, is he a good dude? Like, could I, like, be like, oh, yeah, I can get down with Dan Hurley? I think I can. I listened to him out there on Pat McAfee. He's awesome, man. Like, he's talking about the transfer portal out there, and I think is, like, spot on with what he's talking about. He's talking about how, like, and this is something I think is a problem at a lot of places, and I think you saw it rear its ugly head this year at places like Arkansas, where, like, and other programs that I may or may not want to list off, but you're seeing, like, teams are reloading entire rosters, and there's no, like how do you build a program when you're just bringing in new guys every single year? Like, how do you get your, like, what you're trying to get across to these guys when they're coming in every single year and you're just kind of rotating them? Yeah. And I think you saw that at Arkansas this year, where Eric Musselman has shown that he's a good coach, he's a good recruiter, he has a really good culture, it seems like. But then you bring in all these new guys, and there's not that sheriff in the locker room. There's not that guy that's been around saying, look, this is how we do it. You're going to do it, or you're going to be on the bench. And it's hard to implement that. And he was talking a lot about that, of, like, kind of building that culture and everything. I really like that. And then Pat McAfee, which for some reason Pat McAfee's, like, very, like, controversial. Like, you either love him or you hate him, it feels like. And Pat McAfee goes, I forgot who he said, but he said there was somebody who's like a two-time broadcast Hall of Famer that was telling him that this year's UConn team could beat the Pistons. And Dan Hurley immediately puts his face in his hands and starts laughing. He's like, dude, that's the most ridiculous thing that I hear. And he's like, I hate that people say that. So I like Dan Hurley a lot. Not just because of that, but I do like Dan Hurley, and I thought that was really good. And I really want to go home and listen to this whole interview, because based on what I heard, 2 minutes I was out there listening to it, it was some really good stuff he was talking about.
No, Hurley gets it. Like,
he does.
He gets
it. Obviously his dad's a coach, his brother's a coach.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's been in this world his entire life. Yeah. So I mean, if there's somebody that gets it, it's gonna be him.
Right, but and more times than not, guys that have played in the NBA or have NBA ties, they don't really pan out too well. So for him to come into a collegiate space where initially it wasn't, the transfer portal was there, but it was like there are strict rules, to now it's like everything is like so wide open. Like, and he's able to, like, retain not only, like, the bulk of his team from that championship run last season, but also add some more players to this. Like, yeah, like, he understands, he understands what's the word I'm looking for? It's not necessarily the explosion, but the volatility of college basketball in its current state.
Yeah.
Because, again, like you said, like, there's a lot of turnover. every single year.
Well, there's like over 1,000 guys right now in the transfer portal.
And there's no more of, well, let's get a big freshman class coming in, and then we're still gonna have a lot of our veteran guys in so that the freshmen can just follow the pattern of the veterans. It's like, no, there's no need for that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need for that. Like you either gonna have one or two guys that you like to keep around the program, and then everybody else is just fresh faces that just gonna have to figure it out over summer school.
Yeah.
And that's just how this thing's gonna go unless there's some changes to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's got to be changes, but I'm certainly not smart enough to know what those changes are.
No, you're not gonna get me in a room to make those changes. I'm for this for the kids.
Sure.
Because again, I've mentioned this before, man. Like if college coaches can break their contract with the schools and can go and coach at another school, the kids can break their contract and transfer too. Like they're just as much as students as they are athletes.
When that's an interesting point, because that's what, and I'm not saying like you're wrong, because I think it's a really good point, and that's something that Dan Hurley talked about, because that's kind of the knock of like, yeah, these players should be able to transfer as much as they want whenever they want, because that's what coaches can do. Coaches can just pick up and leave and go to a different school. And Dan Hurley made a good point. He was like, and obviously he's a coach. He's going to make it sound better in his favor because, whatever. But, I mean, he did point out, like, coaches have buyouts, and there are, like, hurdles you have to get past if you want to go to another job. You can't just, pick up and leave. Like, there are penalties and things that obviously he's not paying his buyout,
right.
Like those other schools are paying it. But it's interesting. I think there's there's got to be something I think done, because I think what it is right now is crazy. And Brett was talking about, he was talking to somebody and they were having the conversation, and it's not a big thing yet, but it's kind of growing, of like these players who maybe can't go to Kentucky or Duke or Auburn right now. They'll go to a low mid-major program, something like that, and like in their mind the whole time they're thinking, yeah, I'll play here a year or two, then I'll transfer up to maybe somewhere else. Maybe I'll transfer to Missouri,
upper
and
D1,
then, and then I'll play a year at Missouri, play SEC teams, and then those schools will notice me because I'm gonna ball out. And I'll transfer to like Auburn, and I'll play at a high level.
Yeah.
And I think that like that's a real thing that's happening now, and it's just so weird. Like I'll be honest, like, and I know I have no information that other people don't have on this. This is just wild speculation, mere speculation. Josh Minot, a couple years ago, he comes to Memphis, and like from what I heard, like, dude wanted to be at Duke and was like, if he did not go into the draft and get drafted, like, he was going to Duke. Yeah. Or was going to go somewhere to put himself in a better position to go to Duke. Like, it sounded like this guy wanted to be a Duke Blue Devil like his entire life and was going to find a way to become a Duke Blue Devil. And that was like at the very start of the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. And so it's even more now. So like, it's interesting. I know, heck, Kansas just picked up a transfer that was at South Dakota State, but like grew up in Kansas and like has always wanted to play for Kansas, and now is transferred to Kansas after balling out. Was like the leading scorer for his team, and I think in the conference.
Yeah.
At South Dakota State.
But the important thing is about all of this is that the student athletes have to ball out.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Is like, you can believe in yourself and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to ball out. That's much different than like actually going out there and balling out.
That's like saying like, yeah, of course you're going to end up being a Yankee. And then it's like, no, you're Oakland A, buddy.
Yeah, like, Strui Ruiz getting sent down for wearing a wristband. So the Grizzlies, they're in action tonight against the Bucks. I think everyone's just kind of counting down the games, and I've been telling Brett, I think we're going to have a very different attitude towards the Grizzlies, like the second the buzzer goes off of that final game. Because like right now it's like, oh man, injuries, like losses are piling up, yada, yada, yada. once that buzzer hits of that final game, it's like, oh, off season here. Everybody's getting healthy. What are we going to do with this roster? Who are we going to draft? Like, the excitement level goes through the roof, like, the minute that game ends.
Yeah, no, it's going to be, like, and I can speak for it myself because, I'm at the arena a lot working in games. For me, and for a lot of the workers down there at the Forum, it's just going to be a big exhale. It's just going to be like, once the buzzer hits, it's like, all right, season over. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, all right, we get off season. All right, we'll figure everything out once June, July gets around, maybe May, because I think that's when the lottery happens. May, June, July, and then we'll figure it out. But right now, for like the next couple of weeks, off season. We ain't got to worry about basketball right now. We ain't got to worry about injuries. But it does, as for a fan, it does kind of puts them in full engage mode, because then at that point, in a couple of weeks, like the lottery about to happen. Like, we don't know what the Grizzlies what pick the Grizzlies gonna get. Yeah. And possibly like there might be a trade, because there has happened where there was a trade before the end of the season happened. Officially the end of the season happened once the finals are going on. And, not to say that happens, that's going to happen, but it's on the table for teams that are not in the playoffs. And, you're just looking at it like, okay, cool. Like, all right, cool. Like June, finals come around, okay. Are we done with the finals? All right, now, boom, draft time. Boom. 2 weeks later, free agency hits, or at least the tampering period.
Right,
for free
there you go. Yeah.
And then, boom, summer league, where you got basketball.
Yep.
So, it's...
Dude, it's fast in the NBA.
It comes quick.
Looking at the mock drafts, and I've just got Tankathon pulled up right now, one of the many mock draft sites. But they have the Grizzlies currently in the 7th spot. Let's just sim the lottery one time, see what happens. Oh, it has them dropping to 9. Well, either way...
Wait, I got to do mine. I got to pull it up myself. Let's see. We're going to hit sim.
Sim that lottery.
Ooh. But I don't like the player that pick. But hey,
where they got him?
We jump up to number 3.
Wow! And who do they have them taking?
Reed Shepherd.
Ooh, interesting. See, this is the interesting thing about Tankathon, and I just noticed it actually. I think, they have it. If you sim it, their mock draft changes.
Yeah.
Which I never noticed that. That's cool.
Yeah,
I like
that.
It
changes.
That's really cool. But right now, just currently, without all the sims, they've got the Grizzlies at 7 taking Donovan Clingan, the big man for UConn, 7'2", 265, a sophomore. Sat last year. Not sat, but came off the bench last year. Was not their primary big man.
Yeah.
But now is this year, averaging over 21 points a game, 12.5 rebounds per game. That has kind of been the guy I've seen lately that a lot of people are, I guess, hoping the Grizzlies will draft, or kind of thinking maybe that could be the pick for the draft.
Yeah.
What do you think of the Grizzlies going out and getting Clingan?
Yeah, so those is per 36 numbers, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're absolutely
per
right.
36.
Yes. Per game, 12.9, 7.5 rebounds.
Here's the thing. And this has been a big debate amongst Grizz Nation, because I see a lot of people that want Zach Edey. I'm like, hey, Zach Edey is nice, but as far as
where did they have Edey going?
It's like in the second round.
That's more likely.
Like high second round.
I was looking at one yesterday. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was looking at one yesterday that had him like super late in the second round, which, I think he's a second round guy. I don't buy all of this first round talk around him.
Yeah. So, you for Grizz Nation, for the fans out there, there's the debate of who do you want? You want Zach Edey, or you want Donovan Clingan? And for me, it's an easy Donovan Clingan, because to me, he gets active on the defensive end. And the thing, I don't need my center to be the most dominant scorer in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he can be if we need him to. If we need him to score the basketball, cool. I'm fine with that. If he wants to dominate, if he got the hot hand, cool. I'm fine with that. But in all likelihood, it's Ja, it's Dez, it's Jaren.
Yeah.
The bulk of your points is coming from those guys. Then you add in a Marcus Smart who's going to chip in. You add in a Vince Williams who's going to chip in. You add in a G.G. Jackson who's going to be in a rotation. It's going to chip in from especially from the 3-point line. You throw in a Brandon Clark who can get tip ins and tip slams and alley oops and stuff. It's like right now I just need my center just do the dirty work.
Sure. Absolutely.
Just pass the ball. Just move the ball around. Let's not be a liability on the floor. Now the only thing is like his free throw percentage is not as good. He's shooting like in the mid, what's the 50s?
57%.
Yeah, so he's shooting in the mid 50s, which is not ideal. But for a big man, that's just the reality of it because they're never going to shoot well from the free throw line.
He doesn't take a ton of free throws either. It looks like.
So, but I mean, from a need standpoint for the Grizzlies, because he is shooting up the draft boards very quickly. I mean, it makes sense. Like you feel a need, and you possibly getting the best player on the board. Now, for me, I like the kid from France.
Oh yeah,
I like the
Rosh Ashar, whatever his name is.
Rish. I can't pronounce the kid's name, and I was looking at him on YouTube.
Rishisher or something. Zachariah Rishisher. Whatever. Whatever it is, we'll learn it if you get drafted.
I can hear it. I just can't pronounce it right now. But that to me, he's the best. He's the best prospect.
Yeah.
In this draft.
I honestly, I know we gotta get to a break. But I don't know if I buy all the Klingon number one. I think it's the guy from ESPN has been saying like he could be a number one pick. I think it's a battle between him and Sarr for the number one pick.
Gavoni?
No, it's not. I don't think it's Gavoni. I think they have another guy that's been like super in. It might be Gavoni. I have no idea. I'll look it up during this break. But somebody's been like, dude, it's him, and I'm like, I don't know about all that.
I don't think so either. But I mean, he's in the conversation in top 10.
Sure. Well, let's get to our final break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up the show. You're listening to Johnny Radio's Happy Hour on Sports 56.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Looking for sports in all the wrong places? Try the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square. Fun, friendly, exciting, and comfortable with wall-to-wall TVs for all your favorite games, 24 taps for all your favorite beers, including NA and local craft beers, and an in-front-of-the-wall full bar for all your other favorite beverages, including a full wine list. Add in an upscale menu, patio seating, daily specials, and events, and you found all your sports in the one right place. The Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland Town Square, Highway 70.
Professional football is back as your Memphis Showboats have 5 home games this season, starting with the home opener on Saturday, April 6th at 11 a.m. The Showboats are coming off a strong first year and have added a ton of firepower to the offense, highlighted by quarterback Case Cookus, the 2022 Player of the Year, and the return of fan favorite Vinny Papali. Let's make Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium the best home field advantage in the UFL. For tickets, visit theufl.com. That's theufl.com. Go Boats!
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. If you need a new roof for your home or business, we hope to hear from you and will work hard to earn your business. We are experts and certified in residential and commercial roofing, siding, and gutter installation. I have been serving the Memphis area for over 20 years, and now with 2 of my sons working with me, we plan to be here for years to come. So if you need a roof, please give us a call. On a personal note, what a great time it is to be a Memphis sports fan. With the Grizzlies and the Redbirds and 901 FC, not to mention Tigers football and basketball, it's going to be a fun year. Thanks to Coach Silverfield and Coach Hardaway and their staffs for their dedication to the student and athletes, the University of Memphis, the City of Memphis, and us fans. Fiveash Roof Services, a proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
This is hard to believe, but the Hyundai Santa Fe is actually better? I know, that's crazy, isn't it? The 2024 Santa Fe is new, top to bottom, and even better than before. It's almost as big as the Palisade, so roomy, and now it's got a standard third row. Everybody's clamoring for that. And it's the best SUV when it comes to the ride than ever before. You know how with SUVs you love it because you're sitting high, but you don't get that luxury kind of ride like a sedan? You do with the 2024 Santa Fe. It's the best riding SUV ever, and it's quiet. It's the ultimate family car. All you've got to do to be sold is to test drive it. The people at Homer Skelton Hyundai are saying, come try it. You'll love it. Homer Skelton Hyundai, right at the corner of Highway 78 and Craft Road. First exit in Mississippi. Go see the ultimate SUV, the 2024 Santa Fe.
Syntec Premium Full Synthetic Motor Oil is formulated for today's engines. Available only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The only power source capable of generating 1.21 gigawatts of electricity is a bolt of lightning.
Now, back to Sports 56 Happy Hour on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Johnny Radio.
Welcome back into Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. No Johnny Radio today. He'll be back tomorrow as we wrap up today's show. I just saw kind of some news on the Tiger basketball front. Doug McDaniels, the point guard for Michigan, there were a couple reports. I think one report early when Doug McDaniel entered the transfer portal. For those that don't know, he was Michigan's leading scorer last year. Also had to serve a 6-game road-only suspension for academics. But there was like one or two reports out there that Memphis was interested in Doug McDaniel. He just committed to Kansas State, so that's guy off the board for the Tigers, as it looks like he'll go with Jerome Tang at Kansas State. Also, Penny Hardaway just announced on Instagram he's partnering with an Atlanta-based candle company to have his own line of candles. 1 cent candle collection.
I got an opportunity to see it.
Really?
In person.
Smell good?
Well, I didn't get a chance to smell it, but
dang.
I saw it. I saw it. I was like, okay, like 1 cent, got the 1 cent.
1 cent candles. Good for him. Well, that's all the time we have. Enjoy your day. Johnny Radio, he's back tomorrow.
Genesis Diamonds came to Memphis to change the way people here buy